this is an example of how lessons are learned. You use visuals to encourage them when you're using to keep your language. I love the poster. Just kind of figure either way, show, it's another way to get more data out without telling you guys. My only comments, once, audiovisual this week, was you have to be careful with those lasers because if you have any marks at all, they shake. And as a presenter, for Xerox, one of the things they told us flat out, don't do that. Go up to your visual, use your hand because your hand can stay steadier. Okay. There are circumstances where you need to use that. This was arbitrary as to whether it was one or the other.
Okay.
We used to use U-poppers when you're training adults doing training. It's a little different than teaching, but he totally U-poppered us at the beginning. And he was like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I told you it, and if you'd had time, you could have summarized more.
Okay.
But I mean, if I could have given him a 5 on that, I'm like, Xerox, I'll hire you.
Very good. Very good. Okay.
I mean, I'm seeing 5 across the board.
Yeah.
Or 4, I'm sorry.
4 across the board.
I do. I'm going to let you see something.
Well, the only thing that he did do was stay within the time construct, that is considering the detail that he, showed us in his presentation. There's no way he could have done it within a 10-minute period. He might have cut off some of his personal, kind of like the bell, I won't say the bell ring, but what engaged us initially, how he came into the subject matter, and just saying, hey, listen, this is important to me, or here's how I came into this because X, Y, Z. But on the flip side, he's a very smooth and controlled speaker, and so with that, I don't think it's even in his purview to rush through conversation. It was very deliberate. He was very, conscious about what he was saying.
I liked how he gave the framework too of where he came to come to the subject matter. I like as an audience who was just walking and told, I want to know why are you up here telling me what you're telling me? And he connected it to his personal life as well as his scholastic life. And I thought that was really, really just cool. I hope he's a scientist. I do. I want to use more scientists.
Okay.
Good. We really both thoroughly enjoyed the presentation. And we gave you 20. But let's tell you why.
I'll start off, the speaking skills. It felt more conversational than actually presentation. It was very deliberate, and it just felt like this is confident. Hey, listen, I just found all this information. I want to share with you. And that is a great, way to go about it. Yeah, this is a great approach, especially when you're here because it makes people feel comfortable about what you're listening to. Even the way you introduced the whole subject matter, I became involved in this because of my background, and it kind of, it just freed up a whole piece of our mind and wondering why we choose the topic, So with that, I thought that was excellent. How about yourself?
My background actually is I worked at Xerox for some time as well as a salesperson, and then I went on into corporate education. And I have to say, you have a wonderful presence on your feet. You used a technique we call the U-popper, which is basically you give a personal anecdote, you tell your audience what you're about to tell them, then you give them the detail, and then you wrap it up and you tell them what you told them. So it's a fancy, I can't even think what we call that, U-popper is what we used to call it, acronym. You did a fantastic job of that. That's what an audience does not like to sit there. We're all kind of basically wondering, well, why are we here? What are we doing? And you gave utility immediately, and you pulled us in with some personal anecdote, and then you had us flying the whole way. You never talked over or above or below your audience. You were right on target. Your use of visual media, fantastic. I love the posters. I like the fact you didn't get in there.
Hanging up a little haphazardly, but that's fine.
But that's fine, because what that does is for the audience that wants to know, they're going to walk up after the presentation and they may ask you further questions about it. I thought that your slides were excellent. They were absolutely spot on for the material that you were covering. I never felt like there was too much or not enough. When I first saw it, I thought, oh gosh, there's too much here.
That's what the class thought. Does he have anything to talk about?
But you backed it up with all the words that I would have expected for you to have there. The one piece of feedback that I would ask you to think about is the use of the laser. It's a plus and a minus, and you just need to think about when you might want to use it and when you might not to. What can happen with it is when you're watching a little red thing move, you see the little red ball move, and the human brain is going to think, oh, look at the little red ball move, and instead of the impact of your words coming through. That doesn't always happen, and in some cases it's the only way to talk to the material that you're doing. I personally would rather see you go right up to the visual and work on it.
Okay, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. This tool is a new tool for me today. I tried it my practice run, and I just used it to flip the slots. And I went up like this. And I figured I'd try something different today to see how a laser pointer would work. And I have to say, I like pointing things a little bit better, but in the presentations I've given, I actually don't use PowerPoints, I use flip charts. And I graph them out, and I measure every letter and everything so that it looks well done on a flip chart, and I go through a presentation like that, and I do that quite often. So usually I can point without worrying, am I now part of my slide?
Right.
So that's what I thought I'd experiment with today. How does this work?
And I think in some ways it could have been appropriate because we have a front projector. So that way, what's going to be equally as distracting is if you go in and all of a sudden you have all the screen presented there. Also know some other tools is they have the point of squares, stars, so it's not a single small dot, but actually a shape. And that may be something like a small circle, and that may be something if we're trying to improve, our practice. With these, it just, it was excellent. For the workers to even improve even more. The one slide talking about the impact, if that was a full page, like actually had that picture as a full page, not as a slide, but as a full page, that would have even brought more than you can say, if you look right here, notice this, and then you elaborate it. Also, maybe some small red dots on there to show where the points are. It's almost like I wanted to know more about it. You know what I mean? Like that's what it left me feeling, oh my gosh.
I was considering highlighting, here's this, and in blue up here, that's
it. And then if you would, it's almost like a great teacher says, and if you want to learn more, just go to these 3 areas in our township, and you can actually see it for yourself. So it's almost like you are selling, the idea like, I'm so passionate about this, I want you to carry on with this even after a conversation. I mean, that's just a sign of great educating, and it's just rolling out. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thank you.
But one other final highlight I just wanted to point out was that you had a great connection. I just love this. You connected the cost of sediment control, the $6 billion of sediment control. Yes, and that
was kind of an on-the-spot thing. Like, hey,
I love that.
This is a better connection because I heard you guys ask where you're going to college to somebody, and that triggered in my mind.
You are going to be a scientist, aren't you? Please tell me that.
Where you're at?
I'm going to Villanova next year.
Very good.
Your area of study?
And my area of study is secondary education and communication, which may or may not change to secondary education and environmental sciences.
Okay.
I think that communication is the backbone for our society. We have text messaging, we have Facebook, we have color printing. All those things have been developed. We've spoken language.
Yes.
Everything is a development in communication.
Understood.
If we don't have communication, nothing happens. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't communicate who you are. Nobody else knows.
Yes.
So that's why I want to study communication next year. And I'll see how that goes.
Okay.
From there, I'll either build off of that with the secondary education, or I could happily move into biology and study environmental science.
All right, very good.
Our work will be a great one. Thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you. All right. Excellent. Good.